All right, guys, welcome back. This is going to be our next tooling series video. Got a lot of good feedback on the last tooling series, so I drew up a new pattern here. And so we're going to go ahead and tool this. This pattern is a little bit different as far as the layout, just design layout. It's not quite as, Sheridan-like as far as just having the 4 or 5 circles that we did in the last tooling video. If you'd like to see that video series, if this is your first time kind of catching one of these, we did one a couple months ago. And each video goes completely through my entire tooling process, so you kind of get to tool along. There's also a pattern for this, just like in the other one. There'll be a free download pattern. All you got to do is click the link in the description. We'll stick that down in there, and you can go ahead and grab that and trace this off and tool along with us, or watch them in line there and then do it that way. But this pattern is just a little bit different. I've got a little flower cluster here in the middle with a few different flowers, and then we've got flowers in the corner. So it's not a real traditional layout as far as that goes, as far as how somebody would normally lay it out. So the flow's a little bit different. It's more kind of segmented. So we've actually got, if you kind of look at this pattern, I've actually drew one corner. I basically drew the center set and then drew one corner piece, and then all we did was transfer that to every corner. And you can see how easily and quickly this pattern was able to be drawn, just because of it actually being 4 little sections instead of one complete flowing pattern. And I think it looks pretty well balanced. I think it has a neat little look about it. You're not gonna be able to do this on everything, but on something square like a portfolio or a notebook, a wallet, something like that, you can surely do that with those. You can kind of set up a central figure setting. Whether, if you could imagine this maybe being a brand, you could do something like that, and then have 4 little pieces that are exactly the same, but they kind of together makes them look like a full pattern. So just something kind of neat there. So if you do want a copy of this pattern, you can sure click the link in the description and get that. And it's just a PDF download. Just put your email address in there, and we'll send that right over to you. You'll have access to it. Okay, so I've already kind of sprayed this down a little bit, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it just a real quick little spray there, just because it's starting to dry out as we're chit-chatting. But the bottle that I use is just a little spray bottle, just a little spray bottle with water in there, and that's all we're adding to that. You could sure put a few drops of Ivory dish soap or Dawn soap in there if you need that. A lot of guys used to do that and may still do, just to add a little bit of lubrication to the leather for your swivel knife. But I've already carved this, so I'm not too worried about it. But I don't usually add soap to my case water, but there's certainly nothing wrong with doing that. So the first thing we're going to do in this pattern is I'm going to go through with my push beveler. Again, I like using push bevelers. If you don't have one, don't fret. Just use your regular beveler and just bevel your outer lines. That's the first thing that I like to do, is to go ahead and catch my outer border, if you have a border. Some patterns don't have what I call a hard border, and if you don't, then you don't necessarily have to worry about this step. But we're just going to get all this kind of started here, and it's just part of my process. Some guys like to wait till the end to do that. That's absolutely fine. It's whatever you're more comfortable with. And you can see how fast that push beveler makes short work of these long straight lines like that. That's why I like to use them. That's pretty much the only place I use my push beveler. I don't really use it anywhere else, just on my borders. All right, and so that's done. And again, this one's a real old C.S. Osborne push beveler, so you can kind of see what that toe looks like in there. I know Barry King makes some of these. You can probably find these older ones laying around. If you hunt a little bit, you can probably find some used ones, but they're great. So I highly recommend them just to have in your toolbox there. All right, so we'll go ahead and set these tools up a little closer. You can kind of see how I have mine laid out. We also have a video that we have done on our tool roll that I kind of show you all the tools that are in this roll here. And like I said, I use the tool roll mainly out of habit now. My shop's 3 miles from my house nowadays, so I do zero tooling at my home anymore. But I used to take stuff home and tool at night just because I could kind of stay caught up in the shop. And on weekends and stuff, I had a little break. I could go in the house and cool off during summertime and just tool for an hour or two. So I've always kept my tools in this roll so that I can roll them up and take them with me. But Now I really don't need that. I could probably use some type of other display rack to hold my tools, but I still just use this roll. I like it, so I just keep using it. So we're going to set a few different types of flower centers with these different flowers that we've got, just so we got a little bit of a little bit of contrast, little different flower centers. Like I said, I love flower centers. You probably can't have enough of those, but I wouldn't go crazy and just buy 100 of them because 2 or 3 different ones is probably plenty for the majority of the work you'll do. But it is nice having a bunch of different types. And so there's my big round one. I think this is the one we used on the last video series. And we'll go ahead and set these on our big flowers here in the corners. And so that'll start that. And then I've got these flowers here, and I've got this little bin here with a bunch of different tools in it that I don't use very often, but we've got one here we'll play with. And this is a little Hackbarth flower center. We'll kind of see what it looks like. We'll just kind of look at it and see. I got these tools from a friend of mine, and I haven't played with all of them yet, so we got to use that one right there, and that's kind of a neat little different style of flower center. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my smaller oval Berry King flower center here, and this one always makes a really neat little different size center. Now, the important thing with your flower centers to me is to make sure that your flower center is appropriate for the size of the petals and the flower. So like one of these real big ones, the bigger round one to me, and say this flower here especially, that's way too small for that big of a flower center. So I always try to just keep them where they're pretty appropriate, proportion wise. They look real. So, and then I've got this little one here. And then this is just a cheap little craft tool flower center, but I like it on these little bitty flowers like this. And to me, it makes a really neat little deal once we get done with it. And so here I'm going to go ahead. This flower is just a little bigger, so I'm going to go ahead and use my big round one again on that. And so there all our flower centers are placed. And so now we can go ahead and do our flower center liner. And that's the Berry King flower center liner there. And I really like this tool. Again, as I mentioned before, I used to never use these, but I've gotten where I really enjoy using them now. And we'll switch mauls. I like to use a little 16-ounce Berry King maul when I'm doing tooling work. Remember, when you're doing this flower center liner, I try to keep them segmented to where I mainly focus on each petal, and I don't just go all the way around like that. I want to kind of focus on each petal, so I've got just a hint of darker burnish, in the middle of the whole petal, so it kind of fades out as it comes to the side of that one petal. And your distance isn't very long, so it's minuscule, but to me it kind of matters. So that's just how I like to do it. So I'll start out a little light, and then as I get to the middle, I'll tap it down and get a nice good color there in the middle of that petal, and then I'll switch to the next petal and do the same thing. And like I said, you want to try to be careful not to mess up your little dots in your flower centers as much as possible. But I find you're gonna have to touch them up anyway, so I go ahead and double tap. I go back over my flower centers after I'm done flower center lining, and that just kind of cleans up our tool impression there. And again, there's really no right or wrong way. This is just how I do it. Now on this flower center, I don't really have a good area since we've got these little bitty, if you can see those, these little bitty dots around the outside of this. So I really don't have a good spot to place my flower center liner. So I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm not going to flower center this one. Like I said, I haven't used that flower center very often yet, so I'm going to probably decide just to leave that alone and not line that. So there we've gotten all of my flowers. Again, this one too, this little bitty flower, I'm not gonna flower center that, just or line that because of just the nature of that particular flower center. I've tried to do it before on that one and it just kind of looks bad, so we'll just leave that one alone too. But all the rest of them you can kind of bump up too and line really well. So now I'm gonna go back through and I'm just gonna kind of clean up my. You can see there how that kind of clean that up just a little bit, and you can see how that one's kind of mushed around. And you probably just be a little bit more careful when you're lining around your flower centers and not have to do that, but I just found it's just easier. Just do your best and then come back and clean it up after. Alright. Alright, so we've beveled our hard border. We've done our flower centers and our flower center liners. So now we're ready to start doing our undercutting. So we'll start with our Berry King undercuts, and I've got 5 different sizes. I think he only sells 4, if I remember correctly, but I have another small one that I actually ground down and made even smaller diameter than this one. This one here is really narrow, and so we'll use that one at the end just to kind of lift up some really tight little scallops. So here we're just going to go, and if you're following me, you know the way I tool is when you grab one, do everything you can with that one tool, and that way you're not constantly switching tools. And so I'm going to go throughout this entire pattern, and I'm going to do every spot that little undercut fits, or that lifter fits in there. So we're not going to do any of these big curves because that's way too big. This is too small for that. So we're only going to do the ones that it fits. And that's all the ones I can get with the small one. So now we'll step up to our next size, which is just a little bit bigger, and we'll get whatever we can with that one. And if you kind of set up your own, your own process, your own kind of little cadence that you're going to tool, that you prefer to tool with, your own little kind of steps and which ones you use. You don't have to necessarily do it the same order that I do it in. There's some parts that work better that way that I've tried, kind of developed over years as far as my particular order in which I use the tools. But whatever it is that works best for you, if you kind of get in that way, you'll gain a lot more speed through your patterns. Not that we're focused on speed, but it'll cut a lot of that unnecessary wasted time, just because you kind of know what tool's next and you just work your way through a pattern, no matter how complicated or whatever. And it'll really save you a lot of time. So now we'll step up to our next size undercut or lifter, whatever they're called. getting a lot of people telling me I'm calling the wrong thing, but that's what I know them as, is undercuts. And so I certainly know that, you know, some people call them lifters. That's absolutely fine. But what I'm talking about is a lifter, I'm pretty sure, from Barry King. So that's what he calls them, but they're technically the same tool. And so here we're just getting any of the spots that we can with this particular size. And you'll notice me as I'm tooling on this little piece that I'm spinning this work around a lot. When I tool something really small, I kind of get to where I just spin it wherever I need it. If I'm tooling a saddle seat or a fender or a coffee table topper or something that's big, I certainly don't spin those big items as often or move them. I tend to run my tools, you know, it's just kind of a practice thing, but you can get to where you can run them backwards and kind of away from you and stuff. But that takes just a lot of practice. So if you're just starting out, don't be scared to spin your work, but just try to, as you're doing that, notice opportunities where you can kind of keep the work in its position and tool from where you're sitting. And sometimes it's hard, so it's just something to keep in mind. That's another just efficiency thing. It's not going to affect the way your work looks, so to speak. But like I said, when I'm tooling a lot of small stuff, I just tend to spin it around wherever I need it at that moment. And I'm not working on just vine work or just flowers or anything like that. I'm going wherever this tool fits, wherever I am at that moment. If the tool fits there, I go ahead and catch that spot. And I just work my way around the pattern. Some guys prefer to just tool all the vine work, then come back and tool all the flowers, and vice versa. And like I said, whatever works for you. This is just what I found works for me. You're going to have to hit it all anyway, so you might as well get it while you're sitting there instead of coming back to it later. And I think that's about all we can get. There's one. And that's pretty much all the ones we're going to get with the medium-sized ones. So now we'll go to our final one, or the big undercut or lifter, and we'll go ahead and get everything we can with that. And with the big one, and sometimes the medium-sized one too, you can certainly walk those a little bit, at least to get out of the curve so much to where you can then get the rest of this with a beveler. This tighter curve right here at the end, we want to go ahead and get with this bigger undercut so that we've got it done, and we don't have to worry about trying to stick a square beveler in there. Man, I think that's all we're going to get with the big undercut. And so now I'm going to go to my crowners. And like I said, I use two. I have a small and a larger one. And so we'll go ahead and catch anything we can with our crowners. You can kind of do these whenever. You could do them right at the beginning if you wanted to. I tend to wait till I've got my undercutting done. Kind of use the little one here and catch any of the little scallops that we can get with this, and that'll just save us a bunch of time from using our small little beveler, trying to bevel around all these little petal tips. And so they're not a necessity to have, but I highly recommend them if you are looking for another tool to get. Undercuts are really good, and like we mentioned in the previous tooling series, you can certainly make these from some old camouflages that you have that you don't use very much or something like that. You can certainly make them and just smooth them out and just have smooth crowners. There's nothing wrong with that at all. These are checkered, but the smooth ones, I have a set of smooth ones that I made that I use sometimes as well. So biggest thing on the crowners is don't force them. If they don't fit a spot, don't stick them there, because it'll kind of sometimes make your work worse. You know, as far as like how much beveling you're gonna have to come back and do, it'll kind of make that amount worse because you kind of mar stuff up. And we'll grab this little bigger one, catch the tips of these scrolls right here. Maybe, yeah, I'll kind of leave that one alone. Right. So we did our push beveler on the border, flower center leaf liners, undercuts, and crowners. And so now we'll go ahead and mist this down just a tick, just because it is getting just a little bit dry. Mist it down just a bit, and then we will bevel the rest of this. So I'm going to start with this pattern here. I'm not going to use my large beveler. I use a small, medium, and large. I'm going to use just the medium on this one. I don't really have any real long straight lines or anything for my large one, so we'll just use the medium, and the small one should be plenty. We should be able to get this entire deal done. And so we'll just start somewhere and start beveling. And when I'm beveling my petals, I like to start out deeper towards the outside of the flower, and as I come towards the flower center, I like to fade that out just a little bit, just as it meets that flower center, so that it's not quite as deep right there. All right, so we got the bulk of the beveling of all the middle flowers there. So now we'll start working out, going around the rest of the flowers and vine work. Just kind of give us a good look at all those flowers in the middle and see, so that we have kind of a separation of those. And remember, when you're beveling these vines, or anything really, you want to be sure and cascade away from you. So you're beveling this one, then this one. If we did it in reverse, you'd have to bevel, touch up, bevel, touch up. Like, you want to be sure that you're not mashing down something you just beveled behind the beveler, behind the heel of the beveler. So always work away from you. All right, so we got all our long lines with the medium-sized beveler. So now we'll drop down to the Berry King small beveler, and we'll go ahead and get all the little pieces. take your time here to make sure that you've beveled everything as you go along, just kind of making sure you're not missing any little pieces. Almost always have at least one or two when I get to backgrounding that I've missed, so I've got to switch tools and catch that right quick usually. So it's kind of a good chance to go over your pattern and make sure you've got everything beveled correctly. And that looks pretty good. And as you can see, our leather has dried out quite a bit on this one. And so, which is, for me right now, this is about right for bar grounding. And I do use Bargrounders and not matters, but you could certainly use matters. It's not a problem. I use them a lot on other things, but I prefer the bar grounder whenever, for most of my projects. So this we're going to bar ground. I am going to switch though on this one. I usually use 45s is the Bargrounders that I use. From Buried King, but on this one here I am going to use the 30s. These are 30s, so they're a little bit smaller, but I've got really small pieces of background in here, so this one will look really good. And so I'm going to go ahead and use the 30s on this one, and we'll see how that goes. Now, like I said, if you're just starting out with Bargrounders, I do not recommend buying 30s. I would stick with the 45s. They would look really good even on this tight of a pattern here, but they tend to, the 45s are much easier to run, and so you get a more even bar grounding when you use those. And so that's why I recommend those for anybody starting out and trying your hand at using Bargrounders versus matters, is to go ahead and go with the bigger 45 version and use those. You can see the difference in size. Both of these are 5s, and actually this is a 6, I believe. No, it's a 7. This one's a 7. And then this one's a 5, and of the 45s. And, you know, this one would work perfect for this, but I'm going to go ahead and use this little one. But it is much more difficult to run versus the 45s. So if you're buying your first set, go with 45s. Stay away from the 30s until you kind of get the hang of those, and then you can step down. And you can see how fine those are. They're really a fine dot. They're not very big, and it's very easy to make these look like hamburger if you're not used to running Bargrounders in general. And I think that's why a lot of people give up on Bargrounders, because they start out with the small ones just because they do small projects like wallets or belts and stuff like that, and they think they need to go with the small Bargrounders. And I don't believe that's the case. The 45s look actually really nice on even small patterns. So we'll go ahead and get all of this backgrounded. And if you miss a spot that you forgot to bevel, just catch it right then while you're looking at it so you don't forget about it. All right. All right, so I was able to get all of the bar grounding done with the number 7 30 bar grounder. So we don't even have to use the little one. That's one nice thing with them being that small, the size number 30s, is because you usually even the number 7 hole one, you can get the majority of your bar grinding done with just that one tool. But well, we got 1 or 2 spots here, right here by this little pod, that we can get with the number 3. But I find that usually you can get the majority of them with just the number 7. They're thin enough and stuff that they don't have a problem fitting in there. But again, you just have to kind of play with them. Again, I would recommend the 45s, but you can kind of see how much of a more finer background detail that gives you on the 30s. But like I said, I would still recommend the 45s because that looks okay, but sometimes it does get a little mushy. So again, if you're starting out, stick with the 45s.